watching Wisconsin Weather Experts right here on Fox Local and the Fox 6 YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us. It's going to be an interesting day today, Holly. We're going to get into a lot of things. We're going to dig deep. We've got Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks joining us in a bit to talk about capping in the atmosphere. And you're going to keep us busy, too, because we've got so much going on in the next couple of days here.
Yes, a lot. I mean, spring is here, and everything that comes with spring, including the storms.
Yes.
That's what we're going to be talking about today.
Does tend to be a very active period. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a bit. There's been some interesting stuff going on in other parts of the country as well. Take a look at this great shot of a double rainbow. You remember when that went viral a while back? Double rainbow. Yes, well, this is a double rainbow. And actually, double rainbows are actually a little more common than a lot of folks think. You do get that more often than you would suspect. But it's a beautiful shot right across the sky over Rhode Island. That was on Tuesday night. It was right after just kind of a gloomy weekend in the area, so folks were pretty happy to see it. It was a full arc double rainbow. To get the full arc is pretty rare, to be fair. They do occur quite often, but typically early in the morning or late in the day when the sun is at a lower point in the sky, so you get that better sun angle there. Just right with the showers in the area to make that happen. Look at the glow over the bridge as well. Very pretty there. I used to work in upstate New York before I came here to Milwaukee, and upstate New York is still apparently doing winter this year. Yeah, that's a little south of where I worked for a while there. This is near Binghamton area, Berkshire, New York, and they got a little bit of measurable snow there, maybe just half an inch or so. But that wintry scene just kind of brings that back. Of course, we cannot rule that out here either yet. You know, it's not Memorial Day yet, so hang in there. We may well see some more, but not really the big picture for us. We're talking more now about some severe storms and the potential here for a couple of rounds tomorrow. So why don't you take away the big picture here?
All right, guys, so we got a couple of rounds of severe storms, but let's first take a look at our severe thunderstorm outlook. And we, in fact, are included in that. As you see here for the Milwaukee region, we got a taste of the marginal risk as well as even that slight risk. And I know you're wondering, okay, I see these colors, what does that mean? So here we are. We're going to be mainly in that level 2 stage for tomorrow, but for the level 1, that's going to be to the west of our area. You can still see some storms, some pretty strong storms at that. It's going to mainly consist of a little bit of hail possible, as well as strong winds and a low possibility for some tornadoes. But if you're going to be in the area that is highlighted in that yellow, you'll have a little bit more of that isolated intensity with an opportunity for 1 to 2 tornadoes to be possible, as well as some very, very strong winds. In fact, we've been seeing very strong winds for today, but let's take a bigger look at the picture of all of everything that's going on our satellite and radar. You see a lot of high pressures where it's a little bit quieter with their weather, at least for the Northeast. They've been dominated with a little bit more of that snow for the past couple of days, so it's nice that they get a little bit of that. But at least for the Midwestern area here, we're definitely going to be watching more of these storms that continue to move closer to the state of Wisconsin. Now, I'll have the timing on these storms right here for you with our Sky Vision Plus. So as we go throughout the duration of this afternoon, that set of storms that you just saw, those are going to continue to move through the area. This is around 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon. And even not just in our area here in Milwaukee, across the state, we're going to see several different areas of storms. And then you see those numbers. That is the wind speeds. Those wind speed numbers are going to increase as those storms move closer into our area. By the time we make it to tonight, this is around 9:30 p.m., we're definitely going to see widespread storms across the state. In fact, some of those could even be severe. Some could just be a lot more of that heavier rain, and even a few hail droplets could even drop from some of these storms. As we head towards the overnight hours, we could hear a few rumbles of thunder just depending on where you are, but it's looking like for some areas that it will clear out. However, it's just depending on the timing of some of these storms. This is 2:30 a.m. and this is just one particular model, but some other models are showing that we could in fact see a little bit more of those storms overnight tonight as well. So definitely stay alarmed with these storms. I know I'm saying stay alarmed at 2:30 in the morning, but just don't let your alarm scare you if we do get at least a severe thunderstorm rolling into a severe thunderstorm warning, I should say, rolling into the area at that time. Now, as we wake up on Friday, it's definitely going to have a little bit more of that drier time Friday morning, maybe a few lingering showers and a little bit more of that heavier rain just around the Green Bay area, a lot of those clouds are going to pretty much stay with our area throughout the rest of the state and the rest of the day. As we go towards Friday afternoon, we're supposed to warm up even more as we head into Friday. And whenever we warm up, that pretty much primes our atmosphere for severe weather potential. So we'll have another round of this severe weather potential that could move in as we head into Friday night. You can see some of that rain for the afternoon, and as that continues to move through, some of these storms later on Friday night could even be severe as well. It just depends on how much we cool down and how much moisture we actually get from some of those earlier storms. But by Saturday, we'll definitely start to dry out a little bit more. Some of those lingering clouds will definitely stay in the area, but the rain's not over yet. We definitely could get more of that rain as we head into our Easter Sunday. So that could happen maybe later on in the afternoon for Easter. So if you're planning any Easter egg hunts, the best places to do it is going to be in the northern portion of the state because they may not have as much of an opportunity for rain. However, if you're going to be in the southerly portion of the state, you just want to time out some of those Easter egg hunts or any Easter activities that you plan to do. Here's a look at those temperatures across the Midwest right now. We're definitely seeing some warmer temperatures where some of those storms were already at. We're at about 73 in Des Moines. That is crazy. We're going to be in the 70s tomorrow though for our area. Sioux Falls at about 72, 65 in Minneapolis, 52 here in Milwaukee, and then 61 in Chicago. Here's a look at the latest temperature change over the last 24 hours. Yesterday, we were kind of on the cooler side of things. We got up to at least the 40s for our highs. Of course, we had a lake breeze that kicked in, but today we're already warmer. We're in the 50s for majority of the areas in the Milwaukee region, as well as across the state here. We're seeing a lot of big changes. Madison is about 16 degrees warmer right now. Eau Claire at about 16 degrees warmer as well. Green Bay checking in at about 14 degrees warmer. Let's look at those temperatures across the state. I see a ton of 60s across the state here. We're at about 63 in Eau Claire right now, as well as La Crosse, and then we're at 61 in Madison, 60 in Green Bay, 52 here in Milwaukee, but we're definitely going to continue to warm up. We're just on a little bit of the struggle bus right now. We're kind of almost close and even with Marquette checking in at 50. Here's a look at those forecasted highs for the Midwest for today. We're seeing a lot of areas getting to the 60s, and we even see some 70s on the charts as well. We see Minneapolis get into about 70 degrees today, 75 in Waterloo, and then we're looking at Dubuque checking in at about 67 for a high today, 66 in Madison, 62 here in Milwaukee. Marquette is even getting a little bit warmer today. They're going to get up to the 50s. They'll be at about 54 once temperatures really heat up. Here is a look at that high temperature trend throughout the rest of the weekend and even as we start for next week. So we're definitely going to get up there tomorrow for Friday. We're going to have a 22 degree temperature change. So we'll get up to about 76 tomorrow, but then you see temperatures are going to be dropping as we head into the weekend. Well, that's because we have a cold front that's going to be moving through on Friday as well. So that's going to drop temperatures down. We'll trend a little bit more near our average for at least the weekend and the start of next week. And then we heat up again as we head into Tuesday. Here's a look at those day planners though. A little bit more of that rain is going to be expected around at least the afternoon, evening time. So around 5 o'clock, we could expect a few showers. You want to have your umbrella handy. We're going to stay in the 50s though around that time, or we could, in fact, some areas get to the 60s, just some of our, but we may have a lake breeze that drops those temperatures for the Milwaukee region, I should say. Here's a look at the day planner for Green Bay, getting up to at least the mid to upper 50s, and then those temperatures are going to start to calm down as well, but they're looking to be a little bit drier than what we are here in Milwaukee. Wausau, they're going to get a good taste of all of those storms. You see here, their storms are going to be starting as early as 2 p.m. and then their temperatures are going to be fairly mild as well in the upper 50s. Mainly, most of the areas in Wisconsin will be in the upper 50s and the lower 60s for our temperatures for this afternoon. Rhinelander, same situation. They're going to start with more clouds. Then that rain is just going to get a little bit heavier by the time we make it to 8 o'clock p.m. Same situation with Eau Claire, except for they're going to have a little bit of thunderstorm action earlier at about 2 o'clock p.m., but their temperatures are going to be much warmer in the 60s. They'll get closer to the 70s versus some of our other areas. And then La Crosse, same situation, but they're looking to have a little bit of drier time as they head towards the 5 p.m. hour. They'll get close to the 70s. They may even hit the 70s for the La Crosse area, I should say. And then maybe some thunderstorm action as well as we head towards the 8 p.m. hour. And then our last look at Madison. Madison's going to start pretty early with some of those storms, and then they'll dry out as they head towards the evening hours. But overall, they're going to stay in the 60s.
All right, looks like a pretty good and pretty busy little while here as we talk about the next 24 hours in particular. So we'll keep an update on that. And one of the big components of what's going to be happening is something called a cap, and that's where we bring in Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks to talk about this cap. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, great to be here. So really interesting and great presentation there, kind of the weather synopsis, right, of what's going on. And it was so interesting because when you showed Sky Vision Plus there weren't too many storms tomorrow, right?
Yeah,
and it's so interesting because model to model is a little bit different. Let's take a look. So here's the deal. A lot of science coming in with this for tomorrow in particular. Now, you might be saying cap in the atmosphere. What is that? Well, what that means is think about when you boil water on the stove and you get the steam rising, right? If you were to put a lid on that, it prevents the steam from rising. Same concept in the atmosphere when we're talking about a capping inversion, as it's known. There's a lid on the atmosphere. So let's talk about this here. Now, typically, we would not see a warm layer of air just above us. Air gets colder as you typically go up. So as warmer air rises, it tends to cool and form showers and thunderstorms. But in certain cases, like on our Friday, we're going to have just this little warm layer of air just above us. Well, think about this. Warm air rises and cold air sinks, right? You know that when you open the freezer door at home and the cold air comes pouring out at your feet. So as that warm air continues to rise, that's when it cools, condenses, and forms showers and thunderstorms. Well, a warm parcel of air can't rise into air that's warmer than itself, right? So that's why we call it a capping inversion. It's like a lid on the atmosphere. So this uncapped version is where the air rises and it breaks through this cap, and then showers and thunderstorms start to form. So as Holly had been showing, when it came to the chances for thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon and evening on our Friday, not many popped up in the model because the model stayed capped. In other words, the cap didn't break. But here's the deal. Number one, if we warm up enough, and number two, if that cold front is strong enough, it could break through that cap, and if it does, then those thunderstorms realize the instability in the atmosphere, the warm, humid environment, and that's where it could be off to the races with strong to severe showers and thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon and evening, and that is why we have that risk for severe thunderstorms as we head into our Friday afternoon. So guys, it's really interesting because it's an all or nothing kind of event for us on our Friday, right? It literally could be dry most of the day, but if that cap gets broken, it could be a very interesting scene with some stronger thunderstorms just kind of here and there across the area.
Right, and it could be little pops here and there, like you say. And I love your analogy of the pot, right, with the boiling pot and the lid on. And think about it when you lift that lid up. What happens?
Boom, there it goes.
Right,
exactly.
And so it can be just that explosive as well in the atmosphere. So that's why we're watching tomorrow very closely. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate that. Appreciate you. Stick around. We have more Wisconsin weather experts on the other side. But first, a live look out at Mitchell International.
Can we get a plane?
Can
we get a plane, right?
Like, come on, give us the nice beauty shot of a plane coming in or one leaving. Well, who would ever leave Milwaukee, let's face it. All right, we'll be back.
All right, guys, welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts. We have a lot going on and a lot to show as well. We definitely just recapped and talked about some of the storms that we'll see later this afternoon and even next week, as well as the rainbow.
Yes, we had the rainbow, we had the snow. Just shows how many different things can happen in the spring in North America. Something that is happening all too often is that our environment is suffering from some of the things that we do to it. And of course, with Earth Day around the corner, we start to think about treating our planet a little bit better. Environmental experts are warning about this potential harm to the planet, something that's actually invisible to our eyes. And we have a Fox News correspondent, Chanley Painter, who has more.
Plastic is everywhere, including where you can't see. Advancements in technology have helped scientists to discover microplastics within the last decade, which has environmentalists raising the alarm.
They're really, really small plastics. They're in beauty projects. They're also, most of our clothes are made from plastic.
Microplastics often end up in water systems when they get washed out of items, which can harm oceans and aquatic life.
And our wastewater treatment systems are not designed to actually remove those.
While some households may have water filters, microplastics could still be hanging around.
Because we can filter it out doesn't actually mean we're removing it.
Over time, microplastics can get smaller and smaller, making it necessary to frequently clean out faucet filters.
You would probably have to unscrew it, get rid of the microplastics, wash it out, put it back on.
Various foods also carry microplastics, making it very common to end up in human bodies.
They can get beyond the blood-brain barrier.
Even healthy diets are likely not safe from the tiny plastics because it is often found in materials to help crops grow. While scientists have yet to prove if microplastics alone cause health concerns, they could potentially be carriers to other dangerous materials.
Microplastics, by nature of sort of their chemistry, can bind contaminants, metals, PFAs, and carry them and move them.
Staying away from plastic products and using natural materials are recommended ways to reduce your microplastic use on a daily basis. I'm Chanley Painter, Fox News.
Yeah, just a big reminder, of course, we all live in one, bubble together, right? You know, what we put out there into the world, what we put into our environment is going to come back to us. Yeah. And in this case, it's almost a literal example of that.
I know, it's almost scary too, because it's like you can't see it no matter how much you try to avoid, because she said something about the healthy foods, even that's not necessarily safe.
Right, because it's in our water system. So, I mean, we talk about the water system here, as far as meteorology all the time, because we're talking about the rain and the river systems and everything. So when the microsystems, or rather microplastics are into that, that means it is by default in our food, because that water system feeds our food that we grow and the cattle that make the milk or the steaks or whatever it is, they're ingesting it too. So it's just a big reminder to keep our planet a little healthier and do whatever it is you can do to help along with that. And with Earth Day around the corner, we thought it would be a good reminder of that. Our planet is fascinating too. Let's face it, there are creatures of every shape and size that live on it with us, some that we can and some that we can't see. This you can see this time around, but it's fascinating. They're like small bluish creatures. They've been washing up on the west coast. They're a type of jellyfish. We've got more from Fox's John Palanteri.
Never seen that before. This is the first time I see it.
On Santa Barbara's Ledbetter Beach, passers-by have been wondering what all these sea creatures are.
And I thought they were rocks, and I touched them. They're not rocks. They're just like plastic.
They're called Valella, or another name which is by-the-wind sailor. That's because they have a small sail feature that is pushed by the wind, and in this case, driving them up on the beach. They are small, maybe 2 to 3 inches long, and they're from the jellyfish family.
Yeah, they look like mussels. But looking at it and touching it, I thought that's what it was, but it's not.
The first reports came in a couple of days ago on many Central Coast beaches, but the impacts are much greater. While it may seem like the Valellas are coming up on local beaches by the thousands, if that's where you've been walking, marine biologists say they're all along the California coast and even up as far as the coast of Oregon.
Oh my, I didn't know what I was seeing actually. I thought at first it was some oyster chips floating in the water, but they were bluish.
The Valella not only have been washed up on these shores, they were in the Santa Barbara harbor as well.
People kind of circling around, pointing, checking them out.
In nearshore waters, ocean swimmers tried to avoid them, but the Valella were shifting with the wind and currents.
Swam out. We tried to find a spot where there weren't that many on the beach and swam out. And it's a little bit better, a little bit farther out, but they have sails, right? So they move really quickly.
They don't sting humans, but they can cause an irritation if you handle them. And you're advised to keep your dogs away from them because of health issues if they're consumed. In Santa Barbara, I'm News Channel reporter John Palmentary.
There you go. That's an animal I didn't even know we were sharing the planet with.
I know that. It looks like a jellyfish, but it doesn't. You know?
Right. Like you said, it was kind of like a mussel, so it looked like it almost had like a shell, and then the kind of the fin or the sail there that kind of drives them around, and that's how they move around and I assume move to different feeding grounds and things like that. But now, because of the wind that's been so strong in that area, they're starting to be driven on shore, and it doesn't appear to me that they have any real control about where they go. They just have that little sail up over, and they go where the wind blows them, so they're coming on shore, and people are mystified by them on the West Coast, and definitely here in the Midwest as well. We don't see anything like that. The worst we have is a bunch of zebra mussel shells that are all on the shoreline of Lake Michigan, but nothing quite like that.
And maybe seagulls. I've seen a lot of seagulls here, surprisingly.
Yeah, no, there's a lot. You're going to have to get used to the seagulls. They definitely share our space for a good long time, particularly in the summer when people start eating French fries near the beach.
Oh, they'll take it.
Them in quite a bit. All right, we have a quick break here, and then we come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about the science of weather, something called a Pyro cumulus cloud. Welcome back, Wisconsin weather experts, right here on Fox Local, and we have a great picture to share. This came in via Fox Weather, our partners over at Fox Weather, and Becky Nixon, who was down in Florida and caught this standalone, single, what we call a pyrocumulus cloud that formed in relation to a fire that appeared to be originating from the Savannah's Preserves State Park. Now, Holly, you actually did a great overview of what causes these clouds back a few months ago, so let's give a listen to that.
Hello, everyone. Class is officially in session. Here we are looking at our Wisconsin Weather Experts Dictionary, and we are at our very first word of the day. So looking at this word search, you see that there are plenty of weather terms within this word search, but the one word in particular that we're going to focus on today is pyrocumulus, as you see here circled in our word search. So here's a picture of a pyrocumulus cloud, in fact, you heard the word cumulus, so you know it has to be associated with some type of cloud. A pyrocumulus cloud is a type of cumulus cloud that is created from a heating source like wildfires or even volcanoes. So once that hot air rises and it combines with some of that wildfire smoke or even volcano smoke, that creates our pyrocumulus cloud. As you see here in this picture, you can even see some of the wildfires that are taking place and how all of that smoke is rising along with the hot air, and it's creating that very thick picture of Pyro's cumulus clouds.
And there's the one that was caught by our partner down in Florida. Thank you to Becky Nixon for sending that in. You can see the smoke coming from the ground and that perfect cumulus, just like you described, Holly.
Yeah, I mean, you see it on pictures, and some people get really good pictures, but you never think you'll see it again, and someone caught it. That's just so ironic, you know?
Right, needs that perfect setup, so that was kind of cool to be able to share that picture for sure. And if you have any questions, what can folks do?
You can definitely send it in the questions. We have our QR code there, so you can submit your questions there. Any question you have about weather, and we'll definitely try to get that answer and even explain anything you want to know.
Right, maybe you have a picture like that and you're like, what is happening with this cloud? And we can hopefully try to get you an answer. We're going to leave you with just a fun picture of a turkey out of place. Around here in Wisconsin, we see wild turkeys all the time, but they are not so used to them in Manhattan. Yeah, this is a New York turkey right there, hanging out in New York City.